The latest numbers show fewer job openings at American companies.
The peak month for job openings in the U.S. was in March of 2022, when American companies reported a record 12.2 million job vacancies. In December of 2024, the Labor Department reported just over 7.5 million openings, down from more than 8 million in November and nearly 9 million a year earlier. It is a drop, but most economists say the job market is still healthy overall.
That's ABC's Sherry Preston reporting. Northern California is getting slammed by the second in a series of storms called atmospheric rivers.
Over the weekend, heavy rain caused roads to flood in areas like the Sonoma County wine country, and trees came down on some homes along the Russian River. In Marin County's Mill Valley, the police chief says this next round could cause some bad flooding.
We do want our community members to really be vigilant of their surrounding areas, their property, and to make sure that they're taking care of their neighbors as well.
This next round will stretch south just enough to bring Southern California some much-needed rain. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Hundreds of people in Santorini are leaving the Greek island after hundreds of tremors continue to shake the area for a fourth day. Experts say the tremors will continue for weeks. Residents have been warned to avoid outdoor gatherings, check escape routes, and stay away from cliffs. And yes, on Wall Street, the stocks ended higher today following investor panic over President Trump's proposed tariffs. Dave Packer, ABC News.
Give the star in your life the brightest gift in the world. Name a star after them. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can name a star for birthdays, weddings, or even memorials. Over 45 years, we have named millions of stars for celebrities and individuals from around the world. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
It's now 4:05 on this Tuesday afternoon. I will feel right with your KVNU News update as we have cloudy skies currently outside the KVNU studios and another nice warm afternoon. But we've got a chance of some showers coming in the forecast. I'll get to your weather on the way in just a minute. Well, a former bishop who's now living in southern Utah has been charged for allegedly sexually assaulting a minor while he served as her religious leader. According to charging documents that were released yesterday, Mark Stevens asked the victim, who was 16 at the time, to meet him at his office in the church to discuss a leadership role. Now, during the meeting, Stevens allegedly began asking the teenager about sex and personal sexual behavior, telling the girl that she would be expected to keep her future husband satisfied. Now, Stevens is accused of sexually assaulting the girl during that meeting. Salt Lake County Attorney Sim Gill said in a statement yesterday that children need to be protected, and it's incumbent upon all of us to safeguard these spaces for our children. Now, Gill's office filed the charges. Stevens is charged with first-degree felony forcible sodomy and 2 counts of second-degree felony forcible sexual abuse. Now, it wasn't clear if authorities believe there may be other victims in the case. Charging documents did not state Stevens' faith nor for which church he had served as a bishop. And two people were injured in a gun-related domestic disturbance that happened late last night near West Point. Deputies with the Davis County Sheriff's Office say they received a call about the disturbance just after 8 o'clock. When deputies arrived on the scene, they found 2 victims, although the Sheriff's Office did not release any condition as to how they were doing. The 2 victims, though, were transported to a hospital. Authorities believe the firearms had played a role in those injuries and are now investigating. And Clearfield High School went into a brief lockdown for just a few minutes as authorities had to detain an unruly student. Chris Williams, a spokesperson for the Davis County School District, said the school went into lockdown at about 1:55 yesterday. Now, lockdown protocols were in force for about 10 minutes. When a school goes into lockdown, outside and inside doors are locked and students remain in their classroom. Meanwhile, 2 nearby schools, North Davis Junior High School and also South Clearfield Elementary School, were placed in secure protocols for several minutes as well. Now, the identity of the student that was detained is not being released due to their young age. And weather-wise, clouds continuing through the rest of the afternoon. We didn't break the temperature records for today, as we would have had to hit 67 to tie it, and we were below that, but still unseasonably warm. as we've enjoyed spring-like weather over the last 2 days. It's not going to last, though, as tonight we'll start to see a small chance of some isolated showers. Temperatures drop into the mid-40s. Then tomorrow we'll only be in the high 40s with still some isolated showers possible. Those chances of rain expected to continue Thursday, Friday, and into Saturday as temperatures are going to gradually start to cool down. And news and weather brought to you by Bell Sculpt. I'm Will Feelwright with your KVNU News Update.
Hi, I'm Wendy, co-founder of Bell Sculpt. I know what it's like to feel uncomfortable in your own skin, worrying about how you look, feeling drained, and just not like yourself. Hormone changes, pregnancy, or aging can lead to weight gain and challenges that aren't your fault. That's why I believe so strongly in what we do at Bell Sculpt. I've had a procedure myself, and it transformed more than just my shape. It boosted my energy, metabolism, and confidence. If you're ready to feel like yourself again, Bell Sculpt is here to help. Book your free consultation at bellsculpt.fm.
The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs, recognizing first responders and other deserving individuals in our community. Friday mornings at 8:30 on News Talk KVNU.
Winter's cold winds, dry air, and blowing heaters can leave your eyes feeling more irritated than ever. Hi, this is Dr. Rebecca Freeman with Northern Utah Eye Center. We diagnose and treat dry eye disease with easy in-office procedures such as IPL or LipiFlow that provide relief and comfort to dry eyes this winter season. All of us at Northern Utah Eye Center are dedicated to providing excellent care for all your eye care needs. And thank you for voting Northern Utah Eye Center Best Ophthalmologist and Best Optometrist in Northern Utah. Visit northernutaheyecenter.com or call 752-2020 today.
I'm Larry Gelwicks, the getaway guru for Morris Columbus Travel and AMA Waterways. Explore Europe on a deluxe river cruise and step back in time as you sail along the Danube River, visiting Austria, Hungary, and Slovakia. To book your next AMA Waterways river cruise, give us a call at Morris Columbus Travel.
Come on and get away, Morris Columbus.
KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency. So we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It's a very, very warm Tuesday afternoon in Cache Valley. As Will mentioned, we didn't break a record, but sitting at 61 degrees here on Tuesday, February 4th, unexpected, to say the least. I actually took my dog on a lunchtime river walk and had to take the jacket off today. That's how warm it was. So we'll see. It's been an interesting weather week, but as Will mentioned, the cooler temperatures, the more seasonable amount of precipitation, thankfully, coming back. So no good news for southern Utah yet, unfortunately, in this, but we dipped below 100% of normal, so hopefully some of these storms coming in will tip us back up into above 100%. That's what we're hoping for. But it's going to be. There's a lot of water out there. We've been lucky on the flooding again. We've got more questions from listeners again about texts they've received from their cities about sandbagging and things like that. There is no immediate. Well, okay, there are a couple of areas. I talked to some folks at the county. And there are a couple of areas in the county they're keeping a real close eye on as far as, one is sort of a drainage canal area, and the other is just one river, or a corner in one river. They're keeping an eye on that, but they do that every year. But there is no immediate concern of flooding. There's just the potential. With temperatures this high and with cooler temperatures coming back in and the ground still, for the most part, too frozen to really absorb a lot of this, You could see a lot of runoff. We haven't yet. The major concern was last week, headed into last weekend with those rainstorms. With these upcoming storms, the concern is not quite as high. So, but if your city is offering sandbags, they're doing that as a precaution, and you can check with your city. And again, the same rules. I think good rule of thumb here. If you've had issues with flooding in your yard before, it might be one of those years to take precautions in advance based on some of the weather patterns we're seeing. If you've never had an issue with flooding before, it's probably not going to come up. If that changes, of course, we'll be the first to let you know. So, again, with these storms coming in, hoping that northern Utah bumps back up above 100% of normal for precipitation and snowpack. Southern Utah is still looking, I don't know, pretty dire. A listener asked yesterday after we talked about this, what happens in southern Utah if they enter what are their, driest months at 21% of normal. It's hard to say. I don't want to be gloom and doom about this, but 21% of normal, you don't have a lot of options, right? If you're entering, if you're coming out of the wettest months at 21% of normal in a county which has seen its population almost double already in the last 20 years, projected, by the way, to almost double again in the next 20. I don't know. I mean, it's honestly a legit question. What do you do? But with that in mind, this was a big discussion on Capitol Hill today. Lawmakers. So earlier, to back up a little bit, earlier this year, Speaker of the House and Senate President said, let's put a pause on the water bills. Not because they feel like they've gotten everything done, but just to see where we're at, because there was a mad dash for about the last 4 years to do something, to put former Speaker Brad Wilson putting. I'm trying to remember. I think it was about $200 million to start into this Save the Great Salt Lake Fund. And then it was just a slew of water development bills, long-term planning bills, greasing the wheels on certain state granting programs, specifically for water projects. They are still looking into, new reservoirs, shoring up existing reservoirs and more. All of this happened in such a rush, understandably, that this year they said, okay, let's sit back for a session and just kind of see where we're at. Critics were not happy with that because they, that makes it sound like they're these professional critics sitting there going, thumbs up and thumbs down. No, people were critical. And the reason they were critical is justified as well. They said, look, we know where some problem areas are that we haven't addressed yet. So why take an entire year off? And it remains to be seen whether they do fully take an entire year off. But there has been at least that request from Senate and House leadership that they hold up a bit on water bills. If anything changes that, though, it is the situation in southern Utah. But again, what do you do? Obviously, the legislature can fund water conservation campaigns. They can do a lot to raise awareness now about the need to conserve water now. They can, in an emergency setting, should that come up, should we see a situation where drinking water is an issue in southern Utah, which I don't think will be the case the way they've got things set up, despite the population growth projections even. The legislature could fund, emergency fund even some pretty big projects for water storage and more. But when you're talking about a situation where the water is just not there in the hills around, in the reservoirs around Washington County, I don't know. The legislature doesn't have a lot of options in that scenario. There's not a lot realistically that they can do when you can't. I mean, no amount of money is just going to. I mean, I guess at a certain point you could say money could buy more water. You could pipe it from somewhere if you're willing to spend a few $1 trillion and get an agreement going with another state or something. I don't know. You can't. The original plan was to pipe it from the east side of the state to the west, from the Colorado River over to St. George. That plan is now bellied up because the Colorado River is in trouble water-wise as well, so it doesn't have water to spare. You have all these people that are already there in the Washington County area, St. George, Cedar City, and projections of growth for that to nearly double in the next 20 years. Again, I when I talk about this, I sometimes feel like I'm, just being gloom and doom. What are we going to do? I think it's just, to me, it's important that this reality settle in. We're very lucky here in northern Utah. We can sort of watch this play out for the most part. I mean, we have our years. We have, cities have to impose water restrictions, alternate watering days. There are a lot of efforts to get people to think more smartly about how we're using water. I know I have a couple of neighbors who have become absolute militant combatants on reporting the city for watering at 3 p.m. in July, any city, and I love that. But otherwise, we're pretty privileged when it comes to water here in northern Utah. And that's why also during this session, it's going to be hard for lawmakers. They want that water spread out more as quickly as possible, the water we have here. And of course, we have obligations to the upstream states, a tri-state agreement that kind of governs a lot of our water here with Idaho and Nevada involved. It's a complicated process, and we have the luxury here in northern Utah kind of looking at this from a position of privilege where we're not looking at being that water strapped, but southern Utah is. One of the most populous areas of the state is about to leave the wettest months and enter the driest months at 21% of normal snowpack is what we call it up here. Down there, it's more of a reservoir totals, 21%. And again, I don't know what you do. We'll see. But either way, the legislature discussed this today. There was no backing down from Senate leadership, at least. House leadership hasn't weighed in on. So the Senate leadership hasn't backed down on putting a pause on the water bills. But this did come up in a discussion today, and several lawmakers said, we need to talk about this. This is obviously, a one weather year. We can't long-term plan off of one weather year. Droughts happen. We had a statewide issue similar to this in 2021 and 2022, and then 2023 we're buried in snow. But it does expose the lack of a plan B. Should this drought in southern Utah continue for multiple years, it's not sustainable. So one lawmaker saying we've got to talk about what we're going to do here, or what we can even do. So we'll see where that goes. Again, still overall, leadership saying let's put a pause on water bills, see where we're at, take stock, if you will, and we'll see if that changes. If we see after these numbers came in today, a slew of water bills, especially from southern Utah leaders in the legislature. And who knows, maybe we're going to be building a pipeline from the Bear River all the way down to St. George on the west side of the state. It's something, right? We'll be back right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
Get your heating fixed. Call Gary Riggs. Get your furnace fixed. Call Gary Ricks. If you notice smoke and flames, it may be too late. Did you know heating equipment is the leading cause of house fires in the United States? When was the last time you changed your furnace filter? It's free Furnace Filter February at Gary Ricks Services. Stop by our new location at 1580 North 600 West. Enter to win a free duct cleaning and ask for your free filter while supplies last. Get your heating fixed. Call Gary Ricks. Get your furnace fixed. Call Gary Ricks.
Fatigue, headaches, weight gain, hair loss, insomnia, anxiety, intestinal issues, joint pain. Do you suffer from consistent symptoms like these, and no matter how many doctors you see, things still don't improve? Whether you have a thyroid problem, an autoimmune issue, or chronic symptoms, we can help. We do complex medical testing and blood work to find the mechanisms driving your symptoms. And then we create a plan to improve each one while we teach you the tools to stay on top of your health. We've been helping patients just like you for almost 14 years now. We see patients from all over the world, and we have an office in St. George, Logan, Salt Lake, Farmington, and Springville. You aren't crazy, you aren't lazy. It's not just because you're getting older, and these symptoms are not normal. No matter what symptoms you have, you shouldn't feel this way, and we can help. Don't accept Band-Aid answers.
Call Red River Health and Wellness at 855-55-RIVER.
Call Red River today.
Hi, Cache Valley. This is Dan Newmeyer at Blue Sky Restoration, formerly ARS. Do you know what to do if you are experiencing water flooding inside your home? First, make sure everyone is safe, turn off the water, and call Blue Sky. Do you know where the water shutoff is at in your home? If you don't, call Blue Sky and we'll send out a representative for free to help you find it and tag it so you can be prepared if an emergency arises. Remember Blue Sky, restoring your property and your life for a brighter tomorrow.
Thanks to our amazing clients and team, Choles Financial is the silver winner for Financial Planner in 2024 Best of Northern Utah. We appreciate your support.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Hello. Good morning, Ryan. I understand you're a member of the Cache County Search and Rescue team. Is that right?
Yes, I am.
How long have you been with Search and Rescue?
I've been on 12 years.
You've been called out on some really tough ones over the years.
Yeah, we have for sure. But we can see the relief on people's faces when you find them or get to them. It makes it all worth it.
Man, that's awesome, Ryan. Well, I've got a gift card for you to Firehouse Subs. Maybe take the family out, since I know sometimes all of a sudden you disappear.
Yeah, for sure.
Sponsored by Firehouse Subs on News Talk KVNU.
We talked yesterday about lawmakers taking up the idea of, well, originally banning cell phones in classrooms, and instead now Senator Lincoln Fillmore yesterday made it known that he prefers, they've come up with a different way to go about this, where, so the default right now in Utah classrooms in public education, K through 12, cell phones are allowed. If a teacher or a district wants to restrict cell phones in a specific classroom or at a specific school, then they have to take steps, get it approved through the board, etc. It's allowed, but they have to go through that process. Senator Fillmore says, let's flip that and make the ban the default. So cell phones will not be allowed in schools. But if, say, we talked recently here, I don't remember what month it was last year, we had some teachers in from Logan High, and they talked about how they're actually using cell phones and a couple of apps in some really creative history teaching projects. So if a teacher wanted to do that, they'd still have the option, but the default would be cell phones not allowed in classrooms. If they wanted to change that for a specific course or a specific school or even a specific teacher, then they go to the board and say, here's why, and the board approves it. I like that. I think it's a really easy way to meet. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a fan of the bans. I think in general, I know it. There are exceptions to every rule. There have been some, no matter what anyone tells you, there have been some very successful bans over the years. The fact that you cannot own your own nuke, I think that's a really successful ban, right? It's been the fact that it is at least extremely difficult in all but Texas to buy a grenade launcher. I think that is a very smart and successful ban, because have you attempted to buy a grenade launcher? It's really difficult. So bans can work. But more often, I think bans, especially when you're dealing with bans on things that it's a social issue, or an issue like a belief that cell phones are slowing kids down in the education environment. While there is a mountain of evidence to suggest that, there is a mountain of equal size evidence to suggest it is not. And that debate will never end, probably. Because by the time you get enough evidence to start saying one mountain is larger than the other conclusively, the technology's changed. We've moved on to being worried about something else, right? But I'm old enough to remember in the early 2000s when Google was going to make every child so dumb. Do you remember that? Wikipedia was going to make kids incapable of memorization. Losing cursive in classrooms was going to, that one I think they should bring that one back. I think cursive should be taught. I will get into that a different day. Anyway, that's where we're at on that one. But another teen and school-related bill came up. So in Utah, there is a rule that for the first 6 months, let me double check this because I realize as I'm about to talk about this, I don't know if this includes the learner's permit period. It does not. Okay. So outside the learner's permit period, the first official 6 months of a new teen driver having a license, House Bill 308 would change a rule. So right now it is for the first 6 months of a new teen driver having an official license. Again, outside of the learner's permit period, the rule in Utah is new teen drivers cannot have friends with them in the car. The concern is that becomes a distraction, and it points to highway traffic safety data that suggests at least that more accidents happened with teen drivers involved behind the wheel when another teen was in the vehicle. And House Bill 308 just does away with that. Sponsored by Representative Jill Coford, a Republican from Ogden. And it would allow teen drivers in the first 6 months. So after 6 months, teen drivers are like any driver. They can have so many passengers. I mean, there are limits. You can actually be cited for having too many people in your car in Utah. So not that it's a free-for-all after that first 6 months, but that restriction right now only lasts for 6 months, where teen drivers have to be they can be with a parent or an adult or a guardian, but they can't be with a friend, with another teen. And obviously this is one that's tough to enforce and would not be enforced in a situation like driving someone to the emergency room with a broken leg, or you know what I mean. So these rules are enforced responsibly. But you see where they're going. The idea is to not have a bunch of kids new to driving out on the roads, distracting each other, being obnoxious together in a car. Representative Jill Coford, though, says there's a public safety issue here. And that public safety issue is actually coming from northern Utah. So while Rep. Coford hails from Ogden, the story she told today during the committee hearing was a story of a kid driving from Garden City to Logan for work. So, no cell phone service for 40 miles, right, through the canyon. And Coford said that a parent came to her and said, I have a son who's working in Logan, driving from Garden City every day or 5 days a week. And I would feel much better if one of his friends or even a sibling who's also a teen could go with in case they have car trouble, but that is illegal. And so now this teen is aged out at this point of the 6 month restriction. It's no longer even relevant for the specific family, but Coford said She ran this bill last year because of that story, and she's running it again. And she brought receipts. So Utah's Highway Safety Office Director, Robin LaLumia, brought some data to the committee hearing today, and she said that over a 10-year period, data shows that 38% of teen-involved crashes did include a passenger in the car, but 62% here in Utah did not. And so that becomes then a chicken and the egg argument, as Colford admits with her own bill. Are those numbers looking that way because Utah has this restriction, or is that restriction not necessary because teens aren't really getting in a lot of crashes with another teen in the car? That's a big question that no one has an answer to. Mike Sontag, representing several insurance companies, spoke today in opposition to the bill, and he said most insurance companies have data that paints a very chilling picture for teen drivers, showing that every teenager you add to the vehicle where there is a teen driver, the risk of injury and or death doubles per each additional teen. Utah Zero Fatalities campaign, by the way, displays that data on their website. So the state is kind of backing that up. Representative Dominguez, a Democrat from Salt Lake City, spoke up during the committee hearing today and said that she actually had a teenager who'd just gotten into a crash as a new driver. And Dominguez said, I don't trust necessarily that having another teen in the car is going to help or hurt that, but I can't really see it helping, which is kind of where I would fall, just gut instinct. But and Representative Ashley Matthews from West Jordan also spoke out against the bill, saying she had a personal story. She said she had a brother passed away when he was 16. His 16-year-old friend was the driver, and they were, quote, to be honest, screwing around in the car, and her brother died. It was an emotional hearing over this. There were some who spoke in support. Finally, Representative Ariel DeFay, a Republican from Kaysville, also opposed to the bill, moved to hold the bill, not kill the bill, just hold the bill. So there seemed to be some confusion around some of the language, and that some clarifications might actually get support from the committee, despite those who spoke in opposition. So the bill has been held. It's not dead, and they're going to look at changing some of the language. But it was an interesting one. A lot of emotional arguments from both Democrats and Republicans on the committee today. But data, again, was kind of lacking. There wasn't a lot other than a promise from an insurance company representative that it existed. There wasn't a lot of data presented by those speaking in opposition today that the 6-month restriction on teens driving with other teens for the first 6 months of having their license has any positive effect. And again, this bill, Representative Jill Colford, Republican from Ogden, she says she's running it because of a public safety concern, forcing teens to be making certain drives all alone for that first 6 months is, if it's worth it, it's worth it, she said. But if it's not helping, let's not do this. We'll see where it goes. If you'd like to hear this whole debate, if you're a parent, I encourage it. It is House Bill 308. And you can listen to all of the audio around this committee hearing. There's also video for this particular committee hearing, at least this morning, at le.utah.gov. And I've linked to that on our Facebook page. And we'll be back with more of For the People right after this.
Well, thank you, Jason. A 23-year-old Magna man has admitted to driving to Cache Valley to attempt to have sex with a 9-year-old girl last year. Jesus Garcia has been in the Cache County Jail since arriving at a prearranged location back on February 7th and finding police waiting to take him into custody. According to court records, Garcia appeared last week in Logan's 1st District Court where he accepted a plea deal. According to prosecutors, Garcia began communicating last January with a Logan City police officer. The officer was posing as a father of a 9-year-old girl. Now, Garcia messaged the undercover officer expressing a desire to rape the young girl. The messages included graphic depictions of what the suspect wanted to do. Now, on February 7th, Garcia made arrangements to drive to Logan to carry out his plans. At a designated time, a man pulled up to an undercover officer's vehicle at the designated site and introduced himself as Garcia. Now, nearby officers then surrounded the vehicle, took the defendant into custody. He later admitted to texting with the officer with the intent to sexually abuse the 9-year-old. Now, Garcia remains in jail being held without bail and is scheduled to be sentenced in March. He could face up to life in prison. And Senator Mike Lee is backing a proposal to change how Utah administers its elections, and state lawmakers are seeking to address perceived weaknesses in its vote-by-mail system. Now, under a proposed bill that's making its way through the Utah legislature, state Republicans are looking to make substantial changes to Utah election laws by requiring that mail-in ballots be returned in person to polling locations. Now, the changes would also require voters to present some form of voter identification before being accepted by election workers. Now, Utah has operated under a vote-by-mail system since 2013, allowing voters to receive and return their ballots by mail or in drop boxes located around the state. The state also has provided in-person voting stations for those who prefer to do so on Election Day. And we're counting down to tip-off as the Aggie men are in Wyoming to face off against the Cowboys coming up tonight in Laramie. Now, the Cowboys coming into this game 11-11 on the season, and head coach Jared Calhoun noted that the last time they played the Aggies, they were a challenge.
You know, it was a back-and-forth game, like a typical Mountain West game. They made big shots. They really, really did. You got to give them a lot of credit. They came in here. They were very poised, very, very deliberate, and they played a great game. We're anticipating a very, very hard game. Coming off a loss, so hopefully there's a little sense of urgency. Our last outing we lost, so we got to be ready to go.
Now, we'll hear more from the coach tonight at 5:30 as J.D. Walker and Stockton Jukes count down to tip-off. Now, the game set to start at 6:30 our time with our post-game and Aggie call immediately following the game. We hope you join us for it. Well, weather-wise, clouds continuing through the rest of the day as we've had temperatures in the low 60s. Tonight we'll drop into the mid-40s, start to see a small chance of some rain, then increased likelihood of showers expected for tomorrow, and then we'll continue to see a chance of some scattered showers Thursday into Friday as this storm expected to last through early Saturday and leave us with cold temperatures. By the weekend, we're going to be back only into the low 30s for our high. And it's Bell Sculpt that brings you news and weather at the bottom of the hour and top of the hour. They want to help transform your body and boost your confidence with Bell Sculpt. Get more information by visiting their website, bell.fm. I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU News Update.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. Meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today, President Trump making the case for the relocation of Palestinians displaced by Israel's war with Hamas.
There's no other alternative. If they had an alternative, they'd much rather not go back to Gaza and live in a beautiful alternative that's safe.
Trump's statement was quickly condemned by Hamas as, quote, belonging to the Middle Ages. Two groups representing FBI agents have filed lawsuits after the FBI gave the Justice Department the identities of thousands of agents who worked on January 6 cases. Two of President Trump's most controversial cabinet picks clearing major hurdles. Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., their nominations now go to the Senate floor. A sad milestone at the scene of the horrific mid-air collision near Washington's Reagan Airport. The bodies of all 67 victims have now been recovered, 64 of them from the plane, 3 from the Army Black Hawk helicopter. This is ABC News.
The colder weather is here. Are your quilts and blankets looking dingy? Is your winter coat or jacket dirty enough to stand in the corner just by itself? Well, go to Mount Logan Laundry. It'll take no time at all to freshen up everything. They have the 55 and 80-pound washers, the biggest around, and great big dryers, too, and it costs a whole lot less than dry cleaning. Free Wi-Fi and drop-off service. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town on the corner of 5th East, 9th North in Logan, or in Brigham at 1st East, 7th South. Mount Logan Laundry.
This is Branch Office Administrator Brittany Chambers bringing you the Daily Financial Market Report on behalf of Financial Advisor Daryl Arnell and Edward Jones. U.S. equity markets closed higher on Tuesday following a volatile trading session on Monday driven by tariff headlines. After signing an executive order to impose 25% tariffs on imported goods from Canada and Mexico, President Donald Trump reached an agreement on Monday with both countries to delay tariffs by 1 month. A 10% tariff on goods imported from China went into effect overnight, with China retaliating with tariffs on select U.S. exports. However, the situation remains fluid and negotiations between both countries are ongoing. Market leadership favored growth-style sectors such as technology and communication services, while defensive sectors such as consumer staples and utilities were among the laggards. Energy was another outperformer following a better-than-expected earnings announcement from oil refiner Marathon Petroleum, which provided a boost to sentiment for the sector. Overseas, Asian markets took the tariff news in stride, finishing higher, while European markets were mostly higher as well. On the economic front, JOLTS job openings declined to 7.6 million in December, below expectations for roughly 8 million, and signaling ongoing normalization in labor market conditions. Today, U.S. equities closed higher. The Dow closed up 133 points, or 0.3%, at 44,555. The Nasdaq closed up 262 points, or 1.35%, at 19,654. The S&P 500 closed up 43 points, or 0.72%, at 6,038. And in the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 4.51% lower by 0.02 percentage points. In stocks of local interest, Home Depot is up $2.73 to $411.49. Nucor is down 48 cents to $130.82. Thermo Fisher is down $13.18 to $580.57. Zions is up 82 cents to $57.07. This has been today's financial market report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Daryl Arnell, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice. If you would like additional information, daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
If the cold temps lately have you turning up the thermostat, I've got a more efficient way to keep your home comfortable. Call Cardall's Insulation. That's right, insulation. Now you're probably wondering, does insulation actually go bad? Well, if your home was built before 1980, you should really consider new insulation, because today's insulation is so much better. Even a lot of newer homes don't have sufficient insulation. So if your home is cold, if you feel a draft, call 755-5012. Cardall's Insulation, 755-5012.
25 NCAA championships, 18 conference championships.
And the Aggies are going dancing.
10 tournament championships.
The Aggies are pulling out the scissors, and they're going to cut down the nest.
Our winning culture continues. Our Utah State Aggies play here on the Aggie Sports Network.
Pre-game begins 1 hour before tip-off. Don't miss game day on your home of the Aggies. News Talk KVNU.
Couple of programming changes here on the show this week just to kind of accommodate a hectic schedule. We're wrapping up early tonight. Hand the reins over to JD and crew for the Aggie pregame starting at 5:30, tip off at 6. So we'll wrap up For the People early tonight, meaning we couldn't do the For the People Book Club justice. So Craig Peterson is joining us tomorrow at 5 to 6, and we'll be talking about, as I mentioned yesterday, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. This is one of the most talked about books of 2024, even though I think it was published in 2023. Governor Cox made this almost a part of his campaign at a certain point, some of the ideas from this book. And it all has to do with the up-and-coming generation, the exposure to technology, how we're going about, dealing with or not, a rise in certain types of mental illness that coincides in a positive side of this, coincides with, more talking in a healthy way about mental illness. It's a really interesting book. I didn't agree with everything I read. I doubt Mr. Peterson will, but we'll have a great discussion about it. That's tomorrow on For the People, and then one day late for that again. But where we wrap up short today, I didn't want to shortchange Craig in that discussion, so we'll just do it a day late. So, and live still. So that's tomorrow on the program. Again, For the People wrapping up tonight at 5:30, but that still does give us time for this week's episode of Sutherland Institute's Defending Ideas. Kind of a twofer from Sutherland. You heard from Bill Duncan yesterday speaking as the keynote speaker at the upcoming Cash GOP Lincoln Day dinner on February 7th, this Friday. And you'll hear a bit from him again. He's part of a conversation that includes one of my absolute favorite state lawmakers here in Utah. He is, I challenge anyone not to like this guy. He's one of the most thoughtful and reasonable elected officials I think I've ever met. He is a very conservative Republican. He and I don't agree on every policy issue, but I have so much respect for the way he's gone about being a state lawmaker. State Senator Todd Weiler, alongside Bill Duncan and child advocate and online safety expert at Sutherland, Melissa McKay, and they're talking about the proposed App Store Accountability Act. This is basically a way to. So the state originally burst on scene, wanting to force these TikTok, Snap, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of them to verify identity or verify age. And everyone, myself included, told the governor when they announced this, Senator Mike McKell, Senator Todd Weiler when they announced this is the wrong way to go about it. You don't want to tell TikTok, owned by ByteDance, a Chinese-owned company, that they have to start storing copies of driver's licenses and birth certificates. No, that's the dumb way. Would you trust them with that? Facebook had one of the biggest data breaches in American history with the Cambridge Analytica scandal, and they've still never acknowledged it even happened. We know it happened. They changed the entire way their business works based on the fact that it happened, but Facebook particularly has not even really ever come out and said they're sorry for that. And so, yeah, you want them you want people to be scanning birth certificates and driver's licenses and uploading them to TikTok, to Facebook, to Snap, no, wrong way to go about it. So thankfully they've reapproached. They've taken a different tactic on this. So the App Store Accountability Act is going right at, I think this is a much smarter way to go about it. This goes right at the Apple and Android stores, the Google store for Android users, the iTunes store for Apple users, and basically says, parents should have control over their kids' app stores and what apps they have access to download in the first place. So, but the discussion that plays out around this is broader because the Sutherland Institute folks, alongside Senator Weiler, are kind of playing devil's advocate and asking the question, can this type of state intervention be helpful or harmful? So think about that because it's a fascinating thing to listen to. We'll get to that in hour 2 of today's show, which again will be a shortened hour. We'll wrap up at 5:30. Hand the reins over to JD and crew for the Aggie pregame, and more to come. Seriously, stick around. We'll wrap up hour 1 of today's show right after this.
Are you on your feet a lot? When traveling, do you find yourself sitting for long periods of time? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical, and we have compression stockings that can help you. Our compression stockings are designed to improve circulation, reduce swelling, and provide unmatched comfort. Come check out all the different styles and fabrics. These aren't your great-grandparents' compression stockings. That's why we're excited to offer an amazing deal. Buy 3 pairs of compression stockings and get a free care kit. That's right, 3 pairs of compression stockings and get a free care kit. Come into any of our 11 locations and invest in your health this winter by embracing the benefits of compression. For more details, visit us at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Weather changes are tough on your transmission. As we move to colder winter weather, AMCO Transmission invites you to bring your vehicle in for preventative maintenance before the snow flies. Have a diesel pickup, Cummins, Duramax, or Power Stroke? AMCO in Logan is your transmission specialist, and they promise to get you in quickly. For over 50 years, AMCO Total Car Care has been experts in repair for transmission, brakes, tune-ups, and more. Find your local AMCO. 75 East, 2000 North, 752-1940.
Today's hearing aid technology can improve not only your life, but the lives of the people who care about you. Once again, you'll be able to hear the reason for their laughter and understand conversations. Dr. Paul Danes will customize a hearing improvement program to meet your unique requirements, whatever they are. Call Dr. Danes for an appointment at 753-HERE and let him show you how.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Valentine's Day is here. If you're looking for a great place to take your sweetheart for dinner, you should try Beehive Pub and Grill in Logan. Through February 14th, Beehive Pub and Grill has a few special additions to its menu just for the holiday of love. Enjoy a dinner for two, 4-course meal. Call today for reservations, because if you wait, you'll miss out. Beehive Pub and Grill is Logan's Best of Northern Utah gold medal dining destination.
Today's Senate media availability audio is a nice setup for today's Sutherland Institute Defending Ideas that will kick off in hour 2. Because they ended up talking about the same things, basically. The cell phone ban in classrooms bill and the Safe App, I think that's what we're calling it. Yeah, Safe App Store bill were all a part of the discussion in today's Utah Senate media availability.
I love his bill. Having worked on social media, having looked at the data, I appreciate everything that Senator Fillmore is doing on that bill. I think his bill is driven by data, and it tackles a really serious problem in our schools.
It goes back, and a couple of years ago, it's actually the governor that showed us a graph, and I've used it multiple times over and over again. But it shows the emergency room trips from high school girls. And from 2000 to 2010, it's a national graph. It's pretty flat. In 2010, and we have a great hockey team here, but I learned where the hockey stick graph was, flat, and then sticks up. What happened in 2010? Social media phones in schools. And it's a big deal. And we're going to protect our youth, and I think it's a great bill. So it's other comments.
Yeah, our caucus likes the idea of giving the local control. It's just being directed that this is happening. From there, you guys take it. I like that people recognize there may be exceptions to the rule. I mean, there's some kiddos that are the main point of contact for their younger siblings. I mean, just situational stuff. Also, some phones are being utilized for translating services as kids are navigating some more education systems. So I think the schools can make those decisions. We appreciate that that's being empowered in the local school district. So
comment for Senator Senator.
Yeah, I mean, Canyon School District has already implemented a policy, and so there's no phones during class time. They put them in a cubby or on a little hanging thing, and so I think it's got wide support from parents, at least in our school district. It would be totally in line with the bill that's being proposed. And so I think.
Now we beat up your bill. You want to comment?
Can I have your support? Can I say one other thing? The president talked about the mental health. When we passed the social media bill, some of the most powerful testimony, you guys probably remember on the Senate floor, was one of our colleagues, and I'll call her Dr. Plum, and she spoke in favor of it not as a senator, but as an emergency room physician, and the number of traumatic mental health crises that she saw in her own profession. And that's why I appreciate it. And I guess to the president's point, I mean, that data is clear, and we see it here in Utah and from our minority party, especially. I mean, Dr. Plum was seeing that. He still sees it.
We all love our phones, so they need to be used right. So, go ahead.
Fillmore, I don't know if you want to comment on this, or maybe the president. Right now we have
3 proposals to change Utah's constitution. And each of those are being priced at about $1.4 million. Why are we okay with that many proposals and that much cost?
They're all good. I'd say we're not really okay with the cost. That's why one of the proposals seeks to eliminate the cost.
Right.
Right? I don't know. It's beyond me why the Supreme Court interpreted that so literally and so expansively when we can communicate to more people for, I say less money. I mean literally.
And we hope zero, zero.
Lubay's proposal would have to wipe out.
Yeah.
Would have to come first. So is there?
Well, it'll be on the ballot at the same time.
Right, exactly. But do you make the others contingent on his, like?
So Senate Bill 73, which
Right.
I think you're referencing, just references that section of the Constitution.
Okay.
And so if that section of the Constitution changed, then no change needed. So the change is already done.
So I probably need to talk to the advertising department and the papers, because if we're running three constitutional amendments and they're running together, are they going to charge us $1 million for, $1 million for, $1 million for? Or are they going to let us combine them together and pay $1 million for?
All the RFAs are for 1.4 each.
That's right. Well, we understand that, but we'll have to negotiate that. But I think we may get a quantity discount at both. So go talk to the editor.
President, I'll negotiate.
Quantity discount.
That was just a little sour grapes still, you can tell, from Senate leadership over that Amendment D slapped down last year. They're laughing as they make these jokes, but they're still kind of a little bit miffed. Great discussion, though, there around the social media bills. And again, a great setup for this week's Sutherland Institute's Defending Ideas sneak peek for our listeners. Because Sutherland takes the same concept, these two bills that you heard senators discussing there, here in the daily media availability today on Capitol Hill in Utah. And they take that and expand that out into a broader question, which is basically, does this help? When the state gets involved in this way, banning cell phones in classrooms, restricting certain access to app stores on cell phones, does it have the intended goal? Or does it achieve the intended goal, which is keeping kids safe? We'll try to answer that question with Sutherland Institute